The federal courthouse in downtown Miami had seen its fair share of high-profile trials. But on that unusually humid Tuesday morning, there was something electric in the air. Not just the buzz of reporters shoulder to shoulder, adjusting their microphones, scribbling names in notepads, but a heaviness, as if the building itself knew something historic was about to unfold. At 8:53 a.m., the main courtroom was already filled to capacity. Photographers crouched near the back rows, and legal interns whispered from behind towering stacks of case files. The scent of burnt coffee mingled with freshly printed subpoenas. Every eye pointed toward one seat at the defense table, an empty chair with a single nameplate, Pam Bondi. She wasn't late. At exactly 9 a.m., the heavy oak doors swung open with a dull groan. In stepped Bondi, poised, deliberate, wearing a navy blue suit sharp enough to cut through silence. No entourage, no grand entrance. Just one woman with a briefcase in hand and fire in her spine. Pam Bondi, Florida's former attorney general, had prosecuted cartel leaders and stood toe-to-toe with corrupt CEOs. But this was different. She wasn't walking into just another courtroom. She was stepping onto a battlefield run by one of the most feared judges in the federal system, Judge Edward Chen. Chen wasn't known for impartiality. He was known for dominance. For the way he'd stare down attorneys with a smirk before slicing their arguments apart. 22 years on the bench had given him power. And he wore it like armor. "All rise," the bailiff barked. The room obeyed. Judge Chen swept in, his black robe flowing like a cape behind him. He didn't smile. He never did. He took his seat and without looking up muttered, "Let's begin." Bondi stepped forward. "Good morning, Your Honor." Pam Bondi, counsel for the defense. Chen raised his eyes just enough to meet hers and sneered. "I would have expected someone with more courtroom experience." She didn't blink. "Respectfully, Your Honor, I am fully prepared." And she was. But preparation doesn't matter in a rigged game. From the very first moment it was clear. This wasn't a trial, it was a spectacle. Motions were denied before they were read. Objections overruled before she could explain. Every sentence she spoke was cut down with sarcasm or outright dismissal. "Miss Bondi, this isn't the time for grandstanding," Chen snapped at one point. In the gallery, reporters exchanged looks. Even the veteran ones knew something wasn't right. This wasn't just tough judging. This was targeted. But Bondi didn't flinch. She didn't shout. She didn't beg for fairness. She documented. Her pen moved silently across yellow legal paper, line after line. She wasn't just defending her client. She was recording every moment, every bias, every deviation from due process. Because Pam Bondi wasn't here to win a trial. She was here to expose a system. And as Judge Chen scoffed, leaned back, and relished his authority, he never noticed what had quietly arrived in the back of the courtroom. A woman in a gray suit, her lanyard marked with the seal of the Department of Justice. No one knew her name yet. But she wasn't here to observe. She was here to end the show. When the court reconvened at 1 p.m., the temperature in the room had changed. But not because of the Florida sun. Judge Chen returned from recess with a smirk that said it all. He believed the morning had broken Pam Bondi. He thought she would come back quieter, more compliant. He was wrong. Bondi rose from her seat like a storm in slow motion. Calm, composed, but sharper than before. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady as a scalpel. "Before we proceed, I'd like to address a matter of procedural concern." Chen waved a hand dismissively. "Unless it's urgent, MS. Bondi, I'd suggest we stick to the defense." She didn't wait for permission. She reached into her case folder and pulled out a thick, sealed manila envelope stamped with the insignia of the Department of Justice. "I am submitting into the record surveillance data related to an ongoing federal investigation involving this courtroom." The gallery gasped. Chen blinked. The prosecution froze. From the back of the courtroom, the woman in the gray DOJ suit stood up silently and nodded once toward Bondi. Next to her, an FBI agent, Special Agent Marcus Rivera, adjusted his tie and stepped forward with a badge in hand. Bondi turned to face the judge. "Special Agent Rivera is prepared to testify regarding communications between yourself and Maxwell Harrington, the CEO of Courtroom Industries, our opposing party's financial beneficiary." Judge Chen's gavel hit the bench hard, but the sound was hollow. "This is highly inappropriate." Bondi didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "Your Honor, this court is entitled to a fair and impartial judge. This evidence suggests you are neither." And just like that, the walls began to close in. For months, Bondi had been preparing, not just for a legal defense, but for a systemic takedown. She had obtained whistleblower statements, subpoenaed bank records under seal, and now, with the FBI by her side, she was launching the next phase. Rivera took the stand. Calm, factual, ruthless. The FBI has documented multiple offshore transfers tied to Judge Chen's financial accounts, he said. Each transfer aligns within 48 hours of rulings that benefited Cream Industries. Bondi walked slowly to the monitor. Let's review the timeline. She clicked through emails, real, time-stamped, DOJ-authenticated messages. Subjects read, deliverable deadline, need ruling before quarter end, and handle Bondi quietly. Chen's face turned to stone. Voice analysis has confirmed Judge Chen's involvement in over 15 encrypted calls, Rivera added, each related to pending cases before his bench. Bondi turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to ask for your trust. I'm here to show you the truth. The courtroom didn't erupt, it imploded. Reporters stopped writing and started filming. The prosecution team sat slack-jawed. And Judge Chen, for the first time in 2 decades, had no words. Because the case wasn't just about corruption anymore. It was about consequence. Pam Bondi hadn't argued, shouted, or pleaded for attention. She had simply documented reality, calmly, ruthlessly, and with precision. Every insult Chen had hurled? Admissible. Every denied motion? Noted. Every sneer? Now evidence. The system that had mocked her in the morning was now trembling by afternoon. And Bondi? She wasn't done yet. For a moment, the courtroom was frozen in time. Even the air felt heavier. The seal of the Department of Justice glared from the digital monitor like a final verdict. And Judge Chen, who once ruled with unchecked confidence, was now just a man watching his empire collapse. Then the doors at the back creaked open. All heads turned. A tall woman in a charcoal gray suit stepped forward. Sharp eyes. Steady pace. The DOJ insignia glinted on her lapel. She didn't speak right away. She didn't need to. Her presence alone was a statement. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, I'm Deputy Director Lauren Vasquez of the Department of Justice, Public Integrity Section. Reporters shifted in their seats. Phones began to buzz. Jurors leaned forward. As of this moment, Vasquez continued, Judge Edward Chen is being detained pending formal charges. Judicial bribery, obstruction of justice, conspiracy, and racketeering under the RICO Act. You could hear a pin drop. 2 U.S. Marshals moved forward. Chen's eyes darted around the courtroom, searching for a way out. But there wasn't one. He didn't speak. He didn't protest. He simply stood there as the badge was flashed, the cuffs were fastened, and his gavel, once a symbol of his unchecked power, was quietly removed from his bench. Click. The cuffs echoed louder than anything he had said that day. As he was led away past the jury box, Chen's eyes briefly met Bondi's. No words were exchanged, but something passed between them. An understanding, perhaps, that this moment had been earned. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. Her expression remained composed, professional, and final. Deputy Director Vasquez turned back to the court. These proceedings are suspended. The defendant's case will be reassigned. A full review of Judge Chen's previous rulings will commence immediately. To the jury, she added, You are dismissed with the thanks of the court. One elderly juror paused before leaving. She turned to Pam Bondi, nodded once, and smiled. Outside, chaos waited. Cameras, lights, dozens of reporters, all poised for a headline. But when the doors opened, it wasn't a senator or celebrity that emerged. It was Bondi. No PR team. No podium. No catchphrases. She walked down the courthouse steps alone, holding nothing but her briefcase and the truth. Behind her, Judge Chen appeared in handcuffs. The cameras captured everything. The stunned face, the fall from grace, the reality of accountability. And for once, justice wasn't just a promise, it was a visual. Pam Bondi didn't stop for interviews. She didn't raise her voice or wave to the crowd. She simply nodded once and kept walking. Because this was never about fame. It was about restoring what the law was meant to be. Fair, fearless, and unshakable. Inside, the court clerks whispered. Prosecutors avoided eye contact. And the jury room? One juror wiped away tears and said, She didn't shout once. But she made the most powerful man in the room answer to the law. That was Bondi's legacy. Not the arrest. Not the cameras. Not the headlines. The silence. The discipline. The truth. And this time, the system listened. They said it would be just another trial. just another day in court. But when Pam Bondi stood up against one of the most feared judges in America, armed with nothing but a folder and the truth, the courtroom became a battleground. And by the end of the day, justice wasn't just served, it was televised.